Rotogrinders, Dean here. It's Dean 78904. That is the daily fantasy handle around the industry. It's 517 on the East Coast. Going forward, we are starting at 510, just a slight technical hiccup. That's why we're a few minutes behind. It is a 5-game slate, no worries. Should not be an issue for us to plow on through these 5 games and answer your questions as well in chat. What up, chat? Do hit the like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, all that good stuff. 5-game slate going down tonight. We need a 3-man booth to knock it out. Batting first, leading off, such things as NASCAR, as the Morning Grind podcast. It's Stevie TPFL. What's up, Stevie? How are things in your world?
Did you know it's championship weekend for NASCAR? Like, this is the last week of NASCAR season.
I didn't know that, but I saw it got heated this last weekend. There were some quotes out there. People were very angry on the track. That's all I know. Like, maybe it was a Busch. I don't remember.
That's what happens at Martinsville. Like, it's a short track, and all 3 series had passes to win within the last 20 laps of the race, and all 3 series had people bumping people out of the way. That's why Martinsville is the last race before the championship race. So it was heated. It was fun to watch. It was crazy. Some of the comments not great, but it was entertaining for sure.
Are you looking forward to like the season ending? And does it have like a long break? I don't even know. I feel like the break isn't that very long for NASCAR. Like, after the championship, how long do they chill for until they fire it back up again?
February. So February 20th is the Daytona 500. So, there's a couple like preseason events, but February. So yeah, I'm excited for the off season. I'm exhausted. I'm always exhausted by the end of the year. And I didn't even travel a lot this year. So I'm excited, but I'll be like a week or 2 off, and it'd be like, all right, I'm ready for it to come back.
Yeah. And they start off with their Super Bowl, right? Their first thing out the gate is Super Bowl for Daytona. That's the way I understand it, which is an interesting way to go about doing it. All right. Let's bring in Will, Chief Justice. I just sent out a tweet, Will, and I promised the people some prize picks without running it by you. But I presume, of course, you're going to give some fabulous daily fantasy sports analysis. I presume you also have some prize picks, winners for the people. You don't have to give it right now. You can kind of sprinkle it on through or do it at your own leisure. But I imagine you come with some prize picks picks.
Man, you don't ever have to ask me whether or not I have prize picks. It's pretty much a guarantee unless I'm taking a day off.
Fair enough.
So there's that is my main side of investing. So I'm always in. I'm starting to ramp up on Thrive as well. Do utilize Underdog as well. So if it's pride, no props left behind, Dean. No props left behind. It's my motto.
Yeah. I see in the chat, just took a peek at the chat, and they're asking about players that might benefit from injuries, who's in and who's out. That's a good question, because let's run off. It's only a 5-game slate, but there's plenty of body parts we are monitoring. LeBron James has an ankle. He's questionable, although he tweeted out last night that he said, I'm excited to play tomorrow, like get back and play. So I assume LeBron is not lying. I assume he's playing. Anthony Davis also currently probable as well. So the Lakers are getting healthier. My Miami Heat, Bam Adebayo, is questionable with his knee. I'm guessing he plays. He almost went last time. I assume he's a go, but we'll see. Need official confirmation on that. Of course, if he doesn't, it could be Dwayne Dedmon's season. Max Strus is out for a couple weeks. Which matters just a tick or so. Just kind of worth noting he's out with his knee. DeAndre Ayton's got a leg. He's questionable tonight. That's a late game too. So we want to monitor that. And if that could open up potential, it won't exactly be like Andre Drummond last night, but, we have seen before when JaVale McGee is still minimum, he can kind of get there in 22, 23, 24 minutes, even 20 minutes he can get there. It'll be interesting to see how that's handled. Pelicans, doubtful tonight is Brandon Ingram. Devontae Graham is probable, and Garrett Temple is probable as well. Dallas Porzingis is out with his back. I believe it's his back. And Maxi Kleber is out with his back too. A couple bigs not playing tonight for Dallas. Houston playing a later game. We know House is out with his foot. Daniel Tice is a toe, so he's questionable. And Jashawn Tate is questionable with his ankle. Milwaukee is missing 4 of their 5 starters. Middleton's still out with the health protocols. Drew Holiday out with an ankle. Brook Lopez is a back, so he can't play. And, of course, DiVincenzo is yet to play a game this entire season. So it's all about Giannis. Giannis and a bunch of dudes. And Cade Cunningham, he's back from his rest. He played 1 game. They had to rest him, and now he's expected to play once again tonight. Have not seen anything regarding his minutes, but he is super cheap on DK. We'll have that conversation soon enough. Will, what do you have for me? What are we monitoring as far as what's the most important piece of information? We'd like some clarity on it. And the other part, of course, is the way the slate lays out, right? There's one game, 7 o'clock. There's one game, 7:30. Then an hour and a half break, a 9 o'clock game. Then 10 o'clock. That's the Ayton game. We probably don't get that news until, after lock. And then the Laker news against Houston. Houston, a couple pieces are questionable. Again, LeBron questionable, but I assume he is probable. We'll see. Thoughts as far as the slate and thoughts as far as like who we're monitoring the most in and out.
I think for me, all the main pieces I needed, I think I've got a good handle on it. Like, I don't think LeBron's sitting this game. So I'm just kind of throwing that one out of the window.
Yeah.
In terms of the Ayton news, that I think that could be a huge piece because, you talked about JaVale McGee. I mean, man, if he plays 28 minutes, it could be fireworks. So, and the thing about JaVale is especially if you're running, let's say 150 lineups, heck, even 60 lineups, let's go 60. I would still probably have some JaVale McGee exposure. And the reason is he's going to get some minutes. And so you might as well go ahead and build with him in there. And I wouldn't play Ayton tonight, even if he was playing. So I wouldn't have any, I'm not going to be swapping shares to Ayton. That's me personally. So I like JaVale regardless because of the situation, right? So if Ayton wasn't hurt, I wouldn't play JaVale at all. But with the possibility of him being out, I'd rather go ahead and get some shares now. And if he's out, I'm already ready to go. So that's my read on it. Nothing else is really going to kind of impact what I want to do. It's going to be a lot of early screenshots because I do think in terms of this slate, the Bucks Pistons builds are probably going to carry us for about an hour and a half. And not just because it's the first game, most of the value is in this game, like most of it. And there's a couple other places, but all in all, I do think you want exposure to this Bucks Pistons early slate hammer, if you will.
Lots of reasons to sign up for RG Premium. One of the reasons you can get the article that features the what if stuff. And we feature three players today. What if this guy is out? How does this change things? And I went ahead and checked and see if DeAndre Ayton happens to sit. And I think he's more likely to sit than not, especially when you consider the opponent. This feels like a game where they don't necessarily need Ayton. New Orleans is already without arguably their best player. Well, two of their best players. Zion, he's not, who knows when he's coming back. And, and Ingram's gone. So it's a team that's not great, missing their two best players. And Phoenix is just distinctly better. So it seems like a good night for them to rest Ayton. That's sort of my perspective on that. Dallas, New Orleans, and the Kings are on the front end of a back-to-back. Nobody in the back end. And I just want to go ahead and pull this up and kind of feature that if we see Ayton out, we have projected for McGee 26 minutes. And that will be 26-ish fantasy points, 27, depending on what set you're shopping on. And he's essentially still minimum, and he would just start to do a great value. So, yeah, in 26 minutes, which I would think he plays between 22 and 28, somewhere around there. He's gonna get there. Good fantasy point meta player. I know he has the history of the asthma, but, that's not really going to hold him back too much. We don't need him to play 30. Your thoughts here, Stevie, as far as how the slate sets up. We'll break up this Milwaukee-Detroit game in just a second, obviously. But what's your slate overview?
I mean, the Milwaukee game is just going to be so popular in general, right? We were chatting pre-show, and it's like, and you could really realistically play 4 Milwaukee players on one team today because of the injuries and the minutes and the prices. So, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is if I'm going heavy on Milwaukee, I'm trying to figure somebody from Detroit to run it back because, I mean, I don't think a lot of people will worry about running it back with Detroit because they are not a very good basketball team. The Ayton news matters because McGee would be a good pivot off of, Giannis maybe Portis type of plays, and you won't get that news likely. So you're likely, if you're rolling the dice on playing a guy like McGee, if he sits, there's not a ton of value in those late games right now. You would probably be looking at trying to use the utility spot for McGee and maybe trying to figure out a way to leave 2 spots open and try to get up to maybe like a Josh Hart type of play, because he's a value play in that 10 o'clock game.
All right, let's break it down.
Let's stay there, D. Can we stay in the 10 o'clock game? I know that's untraditional, but I think this 10 o'clock game is important too. It's a little sneaky, especially since we talked about Josh Hart.
You want to jump to New Orleans Phoenix first? Whatever, that's fine. We're gonna get there anyway.
Oh, great. Let's do it.
Is that what you want to do? We can make
that. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
So it's a 215 total. Phoenix at home versus New Orleans, and New Orleans, like we said, they're a 12-point dog without their 2 best players. And on the other side, we're looking at Ayton as potentially a questionable play. Go ahead. What are your thoughts?
I like Josh Hart today. We've got him projected at 18%. I think this is a huge deal. He's probably going to play about 30 minutes, peripheral guy. I think JV's a big-time investment in this game. Once again, I know he's 8,500. All JVs aren't created equal. He's not playing 26 minutes anymore. He's playing 36 minutes. More so around 32 to 35. But the point is, he is pretty much the offense. And I don't care if JaVale McGee plays. He's not stopping JV here.
No, too much.
So I'm not worried about that. The other thing is we've got Devontae Graham, who, if you look at the last game, he took 21 shots. That's not going to stop today. He did this in Charlotte with help. Today he has some help, but not a lot of help. So in terms of shot taking. So I like Devontae Graham here. I mean, and everybody does. We've got him projected at 26%. And it looks like we're going to be down on Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I still think he's okay. The big thing for me, though, is if we want to continue to get value, do we think this Herb Jones 28 fantasy point game is real? Or do we think it's noise?
I don't think it's real. I'm not buying it.
Well, it may be noise, but he played 36 minutes against the Knicks. And so if he's going to get 35 minutes again, I think we need to play him. I really do. I think there's value when we're going to be playing Thanasis, and we're probably going to be playing a couple guys in this Detroit game, a couple other 3K guys. I think there's value here with Herb Jones. I'm willing to go back to the web in a speculative fashion because we know Brandon Ingram is out and he's going to get 30 to 35 minutes. Even though he's gotten 31 minutes and put up 8 fantasy points before, Brandon Ingram was available. Brandon Ingram is not with this team. I like Herb Jones tonight at 3%. I'm probably going to have him in my single entry build, which feels risky, but he's getting more minutes than most of the 3K guys.
Minutes equal money. Not all minutes are created equal. Herb Jones's minutes are created poorly. 12% usage, 0.55 fantasy points per minute. So that's my problem there. Like, sure, I guess he can eke his way to like a 20 spot if he plays 36 minutes, which is kind of ambitious, like 30 minutes or so, maybe.
What was his fantasy points per minute the last game without Ingram?
Well, you're looking at one game.
Well, you're looking at 4 games or 5.
That's all
with
I got.
Ingram playing. You see my argument? Like we can fudge the numbers whatever way we want. Bottom line is Ingram isn't playing today, and his first game without Ingram, he was well overvalued. I'm just saying I'm willing to take a shot on a $3,500 guy playing 35 minutes. If he gets 20, I'm fine. If he gets 18, I'm fine. If he gets 15, I can still cash. If he gets 30, I'm feeling real good.
Stevie, your thoughts here as far as the New Orleans side, or whichever side you want.
Can I debunk this argument with Ingram and Herb Jones? Herb Jones with Ingram off the floor this year, 63 minutes, 12.4% usage, 0.53 fantasy points per minute. I get he's going to play minutes.
I hear you agreeing with me, Stevie. This is so rare. You agree with me.
It makes me. Will, I'm so sorry, but it hurts my soul. I mean, so here's the thing, right? Herb Jones is going to play minutes tonight. What we were talking about with like the Ayton thing, if you're rolling the dice on maybe like Ayton not playing or playing, and you need to pivot off of McGee, Herb Jones makes perfect sense because he's going to play 30 minutes in this game. So if he's able to have a good fantasy game, then yeah, it makes a ton of sense. But for me, I mean, I love Graham here. This is a great spot for Devontae Graham. We got this new thing in Florida, Dean. I don't know if you know about it, but we can bet.
Yeah.
So points and assists, like it was at 22.5. So like, if you're liking that, I like Devontae Graham over on Prize Picks too, over 17.5 points. I love Devontae Graham in this spot. He's definitely going to be in my lineups today. But Josh Hart makes a lot of sense too on the New Orleans side of things. And I mean, I don't mind Alexander Walker. I think at 3.7%, he has some tournament appeal, but I really think Devontae Graham is the play from the Pelicans today.
Potential blowout here too. I mean, obviously, if it blows out, like JV is going to probably not go the way you want him to go. Same thing with Nas, same thing with Grams. If you're playing those guys, you want to run it back with somebody at Phoenix. And I like Chris Paul a good bit. Revenge game, sure, why not? I'm okay with Booker as well. And especially, if Ayton sits out, you got the value play sitting right there. As far as JaVale McGee. For the record, I just pulled up our lineup HQ tool, and we have Herb Jones currently projected for 25 minutes. Graham at 32, JV at 32, Hart 30, Nah at 32, Jones 35. Kieran Lewis is an interesting guy. It's another route I think you can go if you want to bank on the blowout. He's going to get run either way, probably play about 15, 17 minutes. And if it blows out, maybe he gets like to 21, 22, and he's super, super cheap, but 3.1K on DK, ball handler. So I don't hate that idea. Throw it back to you, Will, as far as, the Phoenix side. Do you like Paul? Do you like Booker? And again, if Ayton plays, I think he doesn't. It's just a guess. That's my lean. Why would you play him against New Orleans? This, what horrific team without their two best players? Give him a night off.
Yeah, I think the other thing, too, if Ayton's out, I'm going to be very interested in Cam Johnson as well. He's going to be a guy that, I think he's already getting 20 to let's say 18 to 25 minutes. I know it's a wide range, but I think if Ayton's out, I think he gets 25 for sure. Like, I think it's a guaranteed 25. And so, he's another guy that I will be rolling up. And I did want to say in defense of myself, go ahead and get prepared for the Herb Jones 40-point game, because you guys already know how this goes. Back to you, friends.
This is not where you want to take the stand. You don't want to plant your flag on Herb Jones Hill, man. I'm telling you, it's not the place you want to be.
Well, you didn't want to play Drummond at 4,400 last night, but here we are.
I had 100% Drummond on DraftKings last night. 100%. I did make a couple tournament lineups on FanDuel to try to be a little different, especially after all the Philadelphia value opened up.
And he was the Philadelphia value.
The additional Philadelphia value.
Dean, this is so fun. I love it.
Didn't work out for your boy. I had some Jokic. I was buried in the first half before Jokic even started. Like, Drummond put up like a 40 spot in the first. He was crushing. He almost dropped a triple-double. Good for him. But yeah. And I don't know what the field ownership on him was in FanDuel. It must have been, well, in DK it was like 95%. Like, because in some contests at least, depending on where you're shopping. What else do we have as far as this game, Steve? I don't know if you talk both sides. We're kind of jumping back and forth as far as the New Orleans Phoenix game. We had to start this one first. I think he's got a better price on FanDuel than it is on DK. 6-7 on DK, just don't love it. Hart's a good rebounder. I'll give him that. And pretty decent price at 4.9K. He's not one of those guys like, if this game stays close, decent shooter, solid rebounder for a guard. I'm okay with his price on DK. And Valanciunas is awesome, and he's been smashing, and he's getting real minutes now under a new coach and a new team, and they're calling timeouts just to give him a breather. That's something we've never seen. Like, was it Casey would give him 28 minutes, he would smash in 28 minutes, but now like he can get up to 34, 35 or so. If this game stays tight, he dodges foul trouble, all that good stuff. What else do you have for me in this game here, Stevie, as far as the New Orleans Phoenix side?
I mean, if you're looking at this game overall, I think a lot of people are going to be playing that Milwaukee Detroit game. I think this is the second best game stack on the slate. We have some injuries in this game, which has opened up some value. We have more potential value with Ayton being out. Houston, LA shouldn't be close. Utah is so good defensively. It's a tough spot for Sacramento. The Miami Dallas game should be a close game, but that game could end like 95-90. So I think if you're looking for a game to either pair with Milwaukee, Detroit as like a double stack type of lineup, or if you're just trying to get different on this slate, I think this is the best game to do it. On the Phoenix side, Booker, Paul, obviously those are the two main pieces. If Ayton sits, I think it's a bump for a guy like Bridges in maybe the rebounding category as well. So, I mean, it's an interesting game for sure.
It's a weird slate where the highest total is a Jazz game, 222.5. And then everything else is in the teens, 212 as far as Milwaukee, Detroit, 210, Miami, Dallas, the Laker game, 218.5, and the Suns, 215. The two best teams this year as far as defensive rating are on the slate, so not terribly surprising. The Jazz and Miami. The Miami defensive rating this year, 95.1, best in the league, best by 3.2 points next to Utah. They've been phenomenal defensively. I mean, of course, it would help their defense if Bam Adebayo is available too, and nothing official there just yet. I think he's going to be back because it seemed like he was really close, but we shall see. Stay tuned on that. Will, you got any final thoughts on this game, or shall we move on?
Nah, let's move on, man. Let's get it.
We're throwing people off probably like to join the show like in the middle, and they're gonna be like, we're gonna skip the Phoenix game later, and like, well, what happened to the Phoenix game? You gotta hit the rewind.
Well,
Sorry.
the Milwaukee game is probably the most important one anyway. So we're actually helping people by doing it in the middle, so more people can hear us actually talk about it.
There you go. Like we said, the Milwaukee team, they're without 4 of their 5 starters. Well, I mean, DiVincenzo, he hasn't been played all season, but DiVincenzo's still out as he's been out all year. Middleton's still out. Holiday's still out. Lopez still out. 212 is the total. They're still favored because they have Giannis Antetokounmpo, and the Pistons are terrible. It's a 212 total. Milwaukee, not a massive favorite, 4-point favorite here versus Detroit. Well, does anyone want to make an argument against playing Giannis Antetokounmpo on a 5-game slate when there's we're not a lot of studs out there? I mean, come on. Of course, in tournaments you don't have to play him necessarily, but his floor is so good in this game. It doesn't even appear to be a blowout. Of course, it can. Will, do you want to propose any sort of reason why we should not play Giannis tonight?
I don't.
Okay.
Top stud on the slate. No need to get cute. Plug him in.
That's an interesting. Somebody in chat just said no minutes restriction for Cunningham.
I'm looking it up right now. I'm trying to find.
I got to see that because he clearly had one last game and then he rested the next game. And Detroit really has no reason try and win whatever they're playing. They're going to they're playing as best they can, but they don't need wins. This is not the time. This is not the season where they're looking for W's. But yeah, that'll be really interesting because he's super cheap on DK at 3.6K. Can you multitask, Stevie, and or just say pass and say no? Do you want to give me an argument why we should not play Giannis tonight?
There is a report that says Cade Cunningham will not be on a minutes restriction tonight.
Oh God.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just seeing it trickling on through the Twitter as well.
Now you have to play him.
On DK.
You have to play him.
Dean, do you remember before the show I was like, hey, Cade Cunningham breakout game? Do I get credit because I said that before the minutes thing?
Yeah, you go ahead, Stevie. You go ahead.
No, I mean, we started with Milwaukee, right? So, I mean, you play Giannis. I mean, the only argument for not playing Giannis is maybe building a balanced team to not play the value plays and hope that the value plays dud and Giannis just doesn't score 100 fantasy points. But I mean, I said this on the expert survey today. Don't overthink this spot. Giannis is going to have 35+% usage. If the game stays close, he's going to play 35+ minutes. Giannis is a 1.65 to 1.8 fantasy point per minute guy. This isn't baseball. This isn't Mike Trout facing the worst pitcher in baseball and potentially going 0 for 4. This is Giannis with the ball in his hand in a spot that he's gonna smash.
So what about the secondary piece as well for Milwaukee? Because there's a lot of value here as well. And outside of Giannis, the next most expensive player on this team is Grayson Allen at 4.8K. So there's a lot of value. Allen just basically a straight up 3-point shooter, and he should be able to get there. And there's still some value on that at 4.8K on DK. Nwora, not really sure who's going to draw the start. We saw, Giannis's brother Thanasis drew the start last time out, and he's a pretty good fantasy point minute player. And if he plays 24, 25, 26 minutes, he's only 3.1K on DK. I'm good with that. Connaughton, a little bit more expensive, not necessarily going to start. All these guys are interesting. George Hill is old, but he's going to play 28 to 31 minutes or so and kind of eke his way to kind of paying off his salary. Probably not smashing the slate. I think Bobby Portis is the most interesting one because he came back from injury, started at 15 minutes, then 19 minutes. He's a guy that can actually put points in the bucket. You don't have to ask him twice to take a shot. He's happy to. I mean, he can do damage in 15 minutes, but I think there's a chance he gets his minutes extended up to 24, 25. I think that door is open. We only have him projected for 18 right now and 22 fantasy points, at 4.4K, which is okay. It's fine. But I think there's a ceiling to that as well. I think he can go beyond. So your thoughts here, Will, as far as the secondary pieces of Milwaukee, power rank your interest because you could play Allen, Nwora, Hill, Connaughton, Portis, Thanasis. All those guys are at least playable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think for me, first two guys in every build I would have today would be Giannis and Thanasis. the Antetokounmpo brothers from Milwaukee, because they do have Alex and somebody else. Who's the other Antetokounmpo brother?
Oh, the guy for the Lakers. Is he still on the Lakers?
Yeah. Either way, those would be my first two in. I just think it's good value all the way around. After that, it does get tricky for me because of Bobby Portis. And so Giannis is 1, Thanasis is 2. Bobby Portis is like a 3A, 3B for me, because while Connaughton, Allen, and Hill are going to get the minutes, Bobby Portis has more upside than all of those guys, period. Like, he could very well play 25 minutes and put up 40 fantasy points. Whereas I don't see George Hill getting to 40. I don't see Grayson Allen getting to 40. I don't see Pat Connaughton getting to 40 either. So those are kind of my.
But I hear what you're saying. They don't need
right.
to. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Let's say you play Grayson Allen tonight in like a forward spot, right? As an example, but you could have played Bobby Portis in that forward spot, and Grayson Allen gets 27 and Bobby Portis gets 42. You're going to be kicking yourself because you possibly could have played both of them. But that's the point I'm trying to make. It's just Portis has this upside that we know, but the minutes aren't secure, whereas everyone else, we know they're going to get their 25 to 30 minutes.
Stevie, what are your thoughts here as far as the secondary pieces of Milwaukee? And I think it's important to see the starting lineup, like especially if you see Portis somehow jump in the starting lineup, then get excited. Then the pants come off. We saw Thanasis start the last time, and he played fairly well. He almost got a double-double, I think like 9-10 or 9-9 or whatever it was, close enough. He paid off his salary. It did not really budge on DK at 3.1K. And like I said, pretty decent fantasy point minute player. How would you prioritize the Bucks beyond Giannis?
I think it depends on what you're doing, right? Like if you're playing cash games, you probably prioritize George Hill. I think he's going to play 30 minutes. He has a good floor. And then you just kind of maybe piece it together in cash with maybe Grayson Allen. But in tournaments, I think you're looking at Bobby Portis and Pat Connaughton. Pat Connaughton is going to play 30 minutes, and we haven't projected for less than 10% ownership because everybody's playing everybody else from this team. And Pat Connaughton's a guy that could go out and quietly put up 30 fantasy points. He was doing it with Middleton playing and these other guys playing. Like he was putting up fantasy points with Drew and Middleton playing. So you're giving him extra shots. You're giving him extra minutes. There's no reason that Pat Connaughton should be so low owned on this slate. And I'm going to take advantage of that. I really like him in this spot. And I hope he's someone that's just maybe forgotten here. But like Will was saying with Bobby Portis, like you were saying, he only needs 25 minutes. If he gets 25 minutes, we got a massive ceiling from Bobby Portis that you're not going to get from Thanasis, whatever. Thanasis. Like you're just not going to get that ceiling from him. Like he had a really good game the other night. He took 15 shots against Utah in 32 minutes. Do we think he takes 15 shots again? I don't.
Probably not.
So, and I kind of want to see Portis not starting. He will be massive usage with that second unit if he's not starting.
Fantasy points per minute. Portis 0.98, Allen 0.83, Thanasis 0.83, Noara 0.77, Hill 0.75, Connaughton 0.73. As far as the Bucks, let's talk about. I hate talking about the Pistons, and now I want to see what our projections team is doing. I'm trying to take a peek over at the Slack to try to see their conversation and figure out what they have, what they're going to come up with as far as a Cunningham projection, because I don't know. How do you figure out what to project for Cunningham as far as minutes? 27, 30. 28, 30. I think 30 is too high right out the gate. Personally,
not if he doesn't have a restriction.
Well, as a projection though, projection is kind of like the middle. I think he's more likely to go under 30. If he plays 30, you're playing him on DK. If he plays 27, you're still probably playing him. But
we were playing him at 23 minutes. So he was 3,600 going up against all these backups. We were playing him he's projected for 25% ownership before the news came out with no restriction. So we were playing him already. Like if you looked at expert survey this morning or today, a lot of us had him as our favorite value play on DK at 3,600 because we were playing him. So I think, even if you say, Dean, you're saying 27, Will, you're saying, 30. So let's say, let's say 27. Now we're looking at 25 to 35 fantasy points he's gonna shoot. Like this dude, he's gonna shoot. Did you watch him play college basketball? He's gonna shoot.
I didn't.
He shot 1 for 8 in the last game, and he still pretty much put up 20. Like, that's all you need to know about the upside. He hits 3 more shots, he's getting close to 30. Close, not there. Close. One of the things I share with one of my DFS buddies, activity and opportunity, right, are the recipe for production. And the biggest example I have of this is OG Anunoby. And I told everybody from the beginning of the season, if he's going to take 20 shots, did I not say? I've been saying this all season. If he's taking 20 shots, I don't care if he's shooting 4 for 20. If he stays with that volume, once the efficiency kicks in, the production is going to be there at the end of the night from a fantasy point perspective. And I know it was just one game for Cade, but he shot 1 for 8 in 20 minutes, 21 minutes, whatever it was. So tonight, if he plays 27 minutes, he's probably going to get up to 12 to 13 shots. He hits half of those plus his peripherals. It's a no-brainer.
All right. Talk to me about Detroit. We haven't updated just yet for the record as far as Cunningham minutes, and I guess they're deliberating. There's a players' council. They're kind of holding it over as far as the minutes. We have a 23 right now, which I assume was earlier today, and even at 23, he was fine. Will, talking about the rest of the Pistons, if they get run, they're good. That's like a general rule, but it's hard to predict who's getting run and who's not with Detroit. If Olynyk gets run, he's a really solid play, but I don't really know if he's going to get it. Stewart, he's been disappointing this season. The price kind of reflects it too. Jackson's had his moments, but it's hard to predict. If Cunningham is getting more minutes, you got to take it from somebody. Grant is one of their constants. The guy they spent on probably their best player as of right now. This game stays close. It's probably because Grant is having himself a good game. Thoughts as far as the Pistons?
Sadiq Bey has stable minutes. Jeremy Grant has stable minutes. And I'm not playing either one of them. The only person I'm playing from the Pistons is Cade. I'm not playing anybody else from the Pistons. And if they beat me, and one or two of them very well might, that's just what I'm doing personally. I think I'm just going to take my victory lap from Stevie's Cade Cunningham's going to smash tonight. I'm just going to plug in Cade, take my 30 to 40 fantasy points, and keep on trucking.
Yeah, I think you just got to play him on DK. I mean, cash games for sure. Tournaments, do what you want with Cunningham. But, when you say no minutes restriction, you got to think that, the floor is 23, 24, and then, he can play up to 31, 32. And just the way his price is. On FanDuel, it's not a slam dunk for the record. He's like $5K over there. And I guess if you want to play him, you can. But to me, I don't have this sense of urgency that I have to play him on FanDuel. Stevie, your thoughts as far as Detroit?
Well, I instantly went to Prize Picks and bet and took the over on 9.5 points for Cade Cunningham when that news came out. And I bet him over 9.5 points as soon as that news came out. Just in case the lines move. I didn't pair it with anything. On
Prize Picks, you got to pair it with something.
Yeah, on Prize Picks, I just paired it with Rudy Gobert over. I think it was 13.5 points. So just a little 2 for 2, 3X. Will knows all about those.
They got Cade at 3 assists too, by the way. I like that one too.
So I mean, this is one of those things where you're playing on Prize Picks and stuff. You gotta take advantage. For what it's worth, on the Detroit side, I think Frank Jackson is the guy that loses the minutes to Cade Cunningham. I don't think it's going to be Hayes. I really think they see promise in the young guard situation with Cade and Hayes. And I think Frank Jackson will be the guy that potentially loses the minutes. We'll have to see. If you're playing 3 or 4 Milwaukee players and you're just looking at Cade Cunningham, that's a very chalky build. So I think looking at Grant or Bay and just kind of rolling the dice, I think that's where I would look, just to kind of be different here.
I'm going to have Herb Jones, so I'm automatically going to be different.
By the way, I'm on the fly. I'm betting Cunningham over 9.5 points, and I'm taking it with 34.5 Chris Paul fantasy points over. That's what we're going with. All right. Trying to get this wager in. Yeah, this is very professional, but I think this is a good move.
People could be doing the same thing. They could be loading up Prize Picks right now. Will already gave out Cade Cunningham 3 assists. Love that. I gave out the points for Rudy Gobert. We gave out the points for Cade Cunningham. It's going to move. As soon as this is a news thing and they start getting pounded by everybody taking over on Cade Cunningham, it's going to move up.
These are the edges that are important. I'm trying to train my brain. And last night, and this is important to tell people as well, too, because last night when I saw Harris was just rolled out for Philadelphia. I went and smashed Drummond over stuff, and I smashed Curry over stuff, and I won more money there than I won in DFS. it was a very good night for your boy. Yeah, and I would have won more if Tyreek Hill would have ran for a half a yard. I bet over on that, and that's it.
Well, I did take that in one build, and I took his yards over. The problem is the quarterbacks didn't get over in yards, and they should have.
Yeah.
The New York Giants don't know how to sustain drives before the half, at the end of the game. Anyway, I'm only ranting because it's 5 games today, people. If it was more games than that, trust me, I'd be a lot more disciplined in our analysis.
I want to hear your rants, but we're actually behind on time now a little bit because we want to knock out those questions from chat as well too. And we got started a couple minutes late, so let's kind of pick up the pace. My Miami Heat versus Dallas Mavericks, 210 is the total. Miami is a 3-point favorite. Like Luka Doncic is a superstar. It's going to be pretty low owned considering it's a 5-game slate, and like people are going to play Giannis over Luka for good reasons, many reasons. Luka getting all the extra usage of all of his teammates out. I know Luka's going to be without Porzingis, but also the matchup against Miami. Miami is just the toughest offense to go against right now, or defense to go against right now, unquestionably. That doesn't mean Luka can't get there, but the route is a little bit rockier for sure. Your thoughts here, Will, as far as the Mavericks. Luka in tournaments is interesting, if for no other reason. The ownership compared to Giannis, similar build, similar price, and you just kind of do like a 2v2. What are your thoughts?
Yep, not doing it. Just going to continue to play Giannis. Yeah. For what it's worth on Prize Picks tonight, I do have Luka under 49 fantasy points. For what it's worth, I just think he's going on. This is a tough spot. He is at home, but I did want to hand that out since we're on that game. But yeah, I'm not playing Luka today. If Luka scores 60, I lose. But I don't think that's the case. I think Miami has a shot to get rolling here in yet another matchup. And even if they don't, it's still going to be a tough game. So even if they win by 8 points, this is going to be a tough game for the Mavericks.
Jump in there, Stevie, your thoughts as far as Luka and the Mavericks in general, because they are without 2 bigs. In theory, that should open stuff up. But like Powell's never a fun guy to roster, obviously. Maybe he plays 28 to 30 minutes or so. Boban, this doesn't really feel like a Boban game. I don't know how you can unleash him in theory, I suppose. Like he only needs like 15 minutes to get there anyway. Bam on the other side, I'm assuming he's going to play. We'll see. Stay tuned. Of course, if he doesn't go, Dwayne Dedmon becomes a really interesting value play. What do you have for me as far as Dallas and jump over to Miami?
I don't know if it's a hot take, but I think Dwayne Dedmon becomes a trap value play if Bam sits. I think the game goes super small. I think Dallas will like the idea of going small too, with maybe like Porzingis playing the 5, and we see like a Markieff Morris or a PJ Tucker play the 5 against Porzingis. So, I mean, I'm just saying, I mean, if Bam plays outside of Kyle Lowry on FanDuel, because he's like 5.9K on FanDuel, I think this is just a stay away spot for Miami and pretty much a stay away spot for Dallas. Someone in chat just said Bam's playing. We just got the RG alert that Bam's playing. So
just popped out 34 seconds ago. The chat's all over it. Go ahead.
This game's just a cross off for me. I don't really have a ton of interest in this game. I think Dwight Powell is an interesting tournament pivot off of some chalky value play, but outside of that, that's really all I got.
All right, then we shall move on. Lowry's pretty cheap on FanDuel. I'll give you that. 5.9K over there. I'm okay with that price. Hero, it's a bunch of tournament guys. Hero is interesting for tournaments. He's kind of priced up now as far as how he's been thriving. Max Strus out of the rotation. He's hurt, but go ahead.
I said Porzingis and totally meant Dwight Powell.
As far as
at the 5.
Yeah, you're not playing Porzingis. Obviously, he's out for who knows when he's going to play next. The highest total on the board: Sacramento at Utah, 222.5. Utah is a 9-point favorite here. Will talk to me about the Jazz, who like the standard thing with the Jazz is like if everybody's healthy, their rotations are pretty predictable, and they generally have a price that's just market price. They're pretty fair. You rarely find any values. That's kind of what we're looking at today. I think Mitchell's a pretty good play on FanDuel at 8K, but otherwise, and Conley's got a decent price, I think, on DK. But, nothing really pops, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably a slate where I would possibly play some Rudy Gobert on DK and kind of get some double center action with him and JV and hope he has one of those 50-point games where he has like 15 points, 20 rebounds, 2 blocks, 3 blocks, 1 or 2 assists. I do like him today for what it's worth. But all in all, I'm with you. You know, Utah, I feel like everyone's priced appropriately for them being at full strength. So don't really want to play anyone outside of him.
What about Sacramento? Like Fox is another guy who's got a good price, hasn't been spectacular this season. There's thoughts that maybe his shoulder is bothering him. He had that surgery. But, what's your take as far as the Kings before I throw it to Stevie?
Maybe Halliburton, maybe Rashawn Holmes. I know Harrison Barnes has been – I mean, really, he's kind of been out of his mind here. I'm almost willing to play Harrison Barnes on this slate and roll the dice with a guy that has to score for his team, is going to get the minutes. I'm borderline thinking about playing Harrison Barnes today.
Yeah, he's been really solid this year, shooting more three-pointers as well. And like I said, on the Utah side, Mitchell's got a nice price on FanDuel. I'm okay with the price on DK if I land there, but not seeking it out. Stevie, your thoughts as far as this game?
I like the over on Barnes 7 rebounds. I think you can get that on Prize Picks too. That's a bet that I like today. I mean, overall, I think Holmes could potentially get into foul trouble in this game, which will open up maybe a few extra minutes for like Alex Lynn, but I don't want to play it on this one. I mean, overall, when you're looking at this matchup, it's a pace down spot for Sacramento, and they're facing the second best defense in the league. The prices are Fox is 8,600. He's the easiest fade on the slate for me. I think if you're playing anybody from Sacramento, it's Harrison Barnes. He has double upside every night. Like what has gotten into Harrison Barnes?
He's been great.
He's playing fantastic. And then, I mean, on the Utah side, Rudy Gobert is my favorite play on the slate today. Sacramento allows the most fantasy points to centers. I think this game stays close enough that Rudy Gobert I think he has 20-20 upside in this spot.
I'm checking the ownership as far as DK specifically. We have Gobert projected for 24%, Holmes at 20. Of course, this changes, and it might change a little bit with the Cunningham news. We have, an hour until lock, and this stuff is always fluid. Barnes 17.8%, Mitchell at 15.8, Bogdanovich 15.1, Hield 13.6. But overall, it's weird because it's the highest total on the board, only 5 games, but there's nothing. You said you liked Gobert, good big Stevie, but there's nothing that we love in this game. There's pieces to fill out our roster, but it is what it is. A 5-game slate, and you might pick and choose a player here or there, but nobody we have to have, right? Doesn't feel like we have to have anybody necessarily.
Nope, doesn't feel like that. I mean, for me, if I had to play one guy in this game, like I said, it would be Gobert. But as you have mentioned already, I don't have to play him, but I do like him a lot.
Yeah.
I think my number one play in the game, I mean, that's from Utah, sorry. My number one play in the game, I do think is Harrison Barnes, even at 7,400. And let's just see if he can keep cranking out 42, 45 fantasy points with the amount of activity that he has going on. Taking 15 to 20 shots every game, rebounding, trying to do it all. I mean, I like it.
All right, well, we got to be quick on this one as far as the hammer. If you guys are joining us in the middle.
It'll be real quick.
We already talked about New Orleans and Phoenix. Rewind if you want to hear us talk about that. We want to knock out the questions that have been listed in chat as well, too. Producer Eli has been compiling those questions, throwing them my way, and I'm going to knock them out before we step aside and get out of here and make way for crunch time. The hammer, that is Houston versus the Lakers. 218.5 is the total. The Lakers 10-point favorites. LeBron is questionable, but we all kind of assume he's going to play tonight, as per his tweet last night, saying he's excited to play basketball tomorrow night, which is now tonight. The other side, Tate and Tice are both questionable. We probably won't have news on this until later. If they don't play, or Tice doesn't play, maybe Sengun becomes an interesting tournament play. Kind of opens stuff up. Like Nawabo might get some extra run. Martin might get some extra run, but who knows at this point. Houston, again, not one of these teams trying to win basketball games necessarily. Will, what do you have as far as the Lakers in Houston? You said you're going to be quick, so I'm guessing you don't like a lot.
I'm not playing anyone from the Lakers. And Houston, I think it's all dependent on, is Tice out, is Tate out? And then does that mean that Sengun is going to pick up all these extra minutes? If those guys are out, they're probably going to get blown out anyway. So he probably will still play 20 to 25 minutes. Been a good per minute scorer. Is he the new Boban? Not quite, I don't think. But if he's going to get 25 minutes, he's going to be a better Boban. And so I would be interested at 4,300, but I'm not running to do that because my boy Herb Jones is going to carry us to the promised land. I'm kidding, but I do like Sengun if all those guys are out for sure. Other than that, though, I'm not playing anyone from the Rockets. The Lakers effectively, or in theory, as you would say, should blow this team out. Like they really should. And they were on their way to it in the very last meeting until they just, had a meltdown in the third quarter. But at any rate, I'm not playing anyone in this game, really.
Sengun on the season averaging 1.24 FanDuel points per minute, 1.16 TK points per minute. Pretty solid, obviously. And if he gets like a little bit extra run, low 20s or something like that, he certainly could become interesting. Stevie, what are your thoughts here?
I mean, he is interesting if Tate and Tice, I guess if Tice sits, I don't think Tate really affects him at all. So if Tice ends up sitting, I think he's in play. I mean, Carmelo Anthony, I don't even want to talk about Carmelo Anthony, but the dude is shooting a ton. Like he has a 22.3% usage rate on the season. He's like taking over the second team and like shooting double digits. I think when I was looking at it earlier, 5 out of 7 games this year, he's shot double digits. So I don't want to believe in this Carmelo thing. I think the place you potentially play him is maybe Yahoo at $15. So I think that's where you would play Carmelo. But I don't want to just like instantly write this game off because, I mean, obviously we got to wait and see if LeBron sits. If he sits, you play Westbrook and Davis, and that's a way you could get off of Giannis. But, I mean, we're waiting 55 more minutes for that news, and we probably won't get that. So if Tice doesn't play and Tate sits, Jalen Green maybe, but like his price is kind of like caught up to the production. So if you're playing him, I mean, you're just going to have to kind of shop around. He's not really cheap anyway.
I would also throw in Kevin Porter, a pretty good price on FanDuel, but like he's just so rough with all his turnovers. He's so sloppy out there. 6 turnovers last game, 1 versus Utah, but 6 versus Dallas, 8 versus Boston, 9 versus Minnesota. And, you know, of course, FanDuel and Yahoo, they hit you up for 1 point on those turnovers, but the price is pretty good. I'll give you that. Wood, of course, you can certainly play in tournaments if this game somehow stays close. If Houston's hanging, if they're winning, it's probably because Wood is crushing, and he's a really good fantasy player. It's just, you know, it doesn't make a lot of sense in a cash game if that's what you're playing. But for tournaments, by all means, you can play yourself some Wood. Anything else, Will, as far as this game, or shall we knock out some questions from chat? We have a bunch compiled.
Let's knock them out.
You got anything else, Stevie?
Bring it on.
All right, Stevie, what's your best value play now that we have a little bit of information on tonight's injuries? Well, I guess, you know, this question I think was asked earlier, and it's probably where you're shopping. I assume it's Cunningham, right? Cunningham's the best value play as of right now on DK specifically.
Yeah, he was already my favorite value play. I liked him a lot today, and I just like him even more now.
And we also talked about JaVale. JaVale McGee can be a really strong value play as well, too. Will, what's with all the love for Portis and his 18 projected minutes? Personally, I would bet over on 18. He played 15 and then 19. I don't think he's going backwards. I think he's going forward, especially with all the bodies that are out. And he can get there in 18, but if he plays 25, he can really smash it. So that's the love fest for Portis. Probably not a cash game guy. And also, there's a potential. There's a chance he starts. If he does, pants off. What are your thoughts here, Will? Portis?
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I mean, I think Portis, he just has the potential to get up to 22 to 25 minutes. And if that's the case, I think it just immensely increases his upside.
I have a question specifically for Will. Lock and fade of the day on FanDuel. Do you have a FanDuel specific, or however you want to answer this? I'm just here reading the question, Will.
I mean, lock would be, you know, everybody's lock, and that would be Giannis.
Sure.
Fade for me is going to be Luka.
You want to answer that same question, Stevie?
I mean, my fave would be Luka as well. My lock on FanDuel is probably Kyle Lowry. 5.9K is he's just way too cheap over there.
It's a pretty good price.
I will say this. I do still like Cade at 5K. Because I know we kind of talked about that on FanDuel, but I still think there's good value with Cade at 5K if he's going to get full minutes, for what it's worth.
Cash game overview, like you're playing Giannis Antetokounmpo, for sure. On both sites, on every site, anywhere you're playing. On DK specifically, you're playing Cunningham. On FanDuel, I think you're playing Mitchell. He just works at AK. That's kind of the shooting guard position isn't very deep either. From what I was looking at earlier. Is there any other cash game lock that's kind of jumping off the page you guys see? I don't know if I necessarily have one beyond that.
George Hill on DK. He's too cheap on DK.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Yeah. I mean, you're not happy about rostering him, but he's probably not going to hurt you. Right. And he opens up
20.
Who's getting happy about their 1.8x return in cash anyway?
Cash games.
George Hill, 5 games in a row? He's gone over 20 fantasy points. He's 3,800 and he's fine for cash.
Somebody's messing with you, Stevie. They want your home run. Oh, wait, no. Home run call today. Is this for the World Series?
Yeah. Well, the Braves are going to win.
Braves.
The Braves are going to win. Garcia
gosh.
gives up a lot of fly balls and hard contact to righties. So give me Soler. And Soler's going to hit 2 and win the World Series MVP tonight.
Please.
Yeah, Will's a Braves fan. He's got to be excited.
One time.
Will, what if they're asking? What if Thanasis does not start? Are we still willing to play him? I think he's still playable, but obviously a slight tick.
The thing is, if he doesn't start, who are they starting? It's probably Nawara or Bobby Portis. And so then, but I still think he's going to start, though. Me personally.
Stevie, Chris Paul or Devin Booker? Pick one of those two. Who do you prefer tonight?
Devin Booker. Every time that question's asked to me, I'm going to say Devin Booker. He has more ceiling than Chris Paul. We
got to pick up the pace lightning round. Will, Bam versus Jonas Valanciunas versus Gobert. Can you rank those three as far as your prioritization, Will? Bam Adebayo on the assumption he plays. I love his price over there. It's 7.5, I think it is. Joval or Gobert? Rank those three.
JV, Bam, Gobert.
They want to know who my guy is. I like Bam Adebayo. Assuming Bam Adebayo plays tonight, I'm not going to take Giannis, but Bam, I think it's such a really, really strong play. I love, his ability, especially when he gets that right night where he gets, 3 or 4 blocks or 2 or 3 steals, and he's getting the double-double. He can really pepper that box score, and I assume he's fine. Again, want to get official word in that. They said he was going to try to play last time, or under the presumption he was going to play. Can't really remember how they worded that. All right. Pat Connaughton or Portis?
I was peppering the box score.
Stevie, in a tournament, you got Portis or Connaughton? I think it's Portis, right, for tournaments.
It's Portis. They're both really good tournament plays. They're both going to be interesting tournament plays.
Will, punt at center, WCS, oh boy, DeAndre or Boban? Good Lord, why are we doing any of this?
I would say
at that
JaVale McGee.
Yeah, well, that's the answer. But they know that too, and they want a way to get away from JaVale. I understand what the question is. Like WCS is not. How many minutes can he possibly play?
Just take Sengun or whatever his name is.
Sengun,
at that point. Yeah. Take him before you do that. No, don't play.
Sengun sounds like a Chinese food delicacy.
Somebody was saying something else. What Sengun sounds like.
I like that.
They were talking about it in chat. That's the number 37, I believe.
Yes.
All right, a couple more before we step aside and make way for crunch time. Let's see, Jimmy. Yeah, we didn't really talk about Jimmy Butler, Jimmy B, or Giannis on FanDuel, and it's like that's a different question because salary, it's what 2K difference, well, almost 2K difference. Jimmy's a great play, but Giannis is a better play, right? Is that kind of where we're at, Will?
Yeah.
In a 3-max contest on DK, Stevie, it's a 2v2. Do you want Gobert and KPJ, Kevin Porter Jr., or Jonas Valanciunas and Buddy Hield?
The first one. Buddy Hield's in a really tough matchup tonight.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Will, give me a final thought as far as the slate. We got to go.
Play Giannis, play value, play Cade Cunningham. Don't overthink this.
Chat just confirmed, as our suspicions were, Bam Adebayo is officially in. Dallas is starting as Brunson. The Brunson burner is starting. That's interesting. Brunson, Luka, THJ, DFS, and Powell. Right? I don't think Brunson started yet this year, but he's been better running with the second unit. Might lose a little bit of usage. We might grab a couple extra minutes. Crunch time, of course, we'll talk about Brunson and how that's going to affect. Do you have a thought on that, Stevie? Off the dome real quick. We got to go, but Brunson starting, interesting, maybe, kind of, sort of.
Too much value on the slate in general.
And Bam Adebayo officially playing. We got to step aside and go. Thank you for producing the show, Eli. Thank you for watching. Do subscribe, turn on notifications. We'll be back tomorrow at 5:10. If you guys are premium members, Crunch Time is going to be fired about 7 minutes or so. and they'll take you guys straight up to lock. Andy Means, Kevin Roth. That was Stevie. That was Will. That was Eli producing. That was basketball. Do like, do subscribe, notifications, all that good stuff. Hit all the buttons. I was Dean. We're out of here. Holler!